Hello, this is Dr. Hanaa Assil, and this is on acids, bases, and salts. This is basically for the pre-IG or the Year 9 syllabus of Cambridge. First of all, we're supposed to know the definition of acids and bases. We said an acid is defined as a proton donor. So it is something that gives H plus ions. You should remember that proton here refers to a hydrogen atom. You know that the hydrogen atom is something that has one proton in the nucleus and one electron revolving around it. So if I have H plus, that means it has lost that electron that it had. So it's just an atom that has a proton in the nucleus, nothing else. So we refer to it as a proton. So if he says what is the formula of the proton we're talking about, actually the formula is H plus. So acids are proton donors. A base is a proton acceptor. This is because a base is usually something that has oxide or hydroxide. So when it dissolves in water, it forms hydroxide ions. The hydroxide ions take H plus to form water. They react with the H plus to form water. So a base is a proton acceptor. Then we know that some bases dissolve in water. If the base dissolves in water, it's called an alkali. And salts are the substances produced from reaction of acid and base. So if an acid reacts with a base, what comes out is called a salt. We also should know the difference between concentrated solution and dilute solution. So if I say concentrated acid or concentrated base, this is a substance to which you have added only a small amount of water. So for concentrated acid, it is acid to which I added a small amount of water. Dilute has lots of water added to it, so it is mostly water with just a little bit of acid. We refer to that as dilute. Now, when we talk about acids and bases, there is a scale of 1 to 14, which we refer to as the pH of the solution. So anything that is neutral, like water and salt, will have a pH of 7. But acids will always have a low pH. Anything lower than 7 is an acid. Anything higher than 7 is a base. But then we have some strong acids, some are weak acids, some are strong bases, some are weak bases. You have to remember that a strong acid like hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid will have a low pH. So if he says suggest the pH of hydrochloric acid, you can say pH 1 or pH 2 or pH 3. If we want to suggest the pH for things like vinegar or lemon juice or ethanoic acid, ethanoic acid is actually the chemical name for vinegar, all of these are regarded as weak acids, so you can give them a pH of 4 or 5 or 6. Now, something like ammonia is a weak base. A weak base would have pH 8 or 9 or 10. A strong acid like sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, this will have a pH 11 or above. So please remember the pHs of these examples. For example, here he's saying, which one of the following pH values could be the pH of aqueous ammonia? Remember, we said aqueous ammonia is a weak base, so it will have a pH of about 10. We said it should have 8 or 9 or 10. Now, the next one says, which one of the following values is most likely to represent the pH of a dilute solution of hydrochloric acid? Remember that hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. Strong acids have low pHs like pH 2. Which one of the following pH values is slightly acidic? Slightly acidic means weak acid. Which of these is a pH for a weak acid? You should remember that pH 5 is a weak acid. Then, in order to determine if something is an acid or a base or determine the pH of a solution, I can use an indicator. An indicator is a substance that has different colors in acids and bases, or it's a substance that changes color in acids and bases. So the examples that we're going to talk about are litmus paper, universal indicator paper, thymol, phthalene, and methyl orange. First, if I want to know if a solution is an acid or a base, I can use litmus paper. As you see, the solutions in both beakers are colorless solutions. So they look just like water. Now, in order to know which one is an acid or which one is a base, I can insert a litmus paper. Now, if I put a litmus paper and it changes from blue to red, this is an acid. If it changes from red to blue, then that's a base. So remember that acids will turn litmus paper to red, bases will turn litmus paper to blue. But if I want to know if something is a strong acid or a weak acid or a strong base or a weak base, or I want to know the pH of the solution, I have to tell him insert universal indicator paper and compare the color to the chart. At the back of the paper, there's usually a chart like this showing the different colors for the different pHs. Now, you should know that if I put my universal indicator paper into a strong acid, like sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid, it will give the same color as litmus. So it will give red. If I put it in a strong base, it will give blue, just like litmus. So remember that strong acid and strong base have the same colors as litmus. Now, the other colors you're required to know is, you should know that neutral or pH 7 will give green, and a weak acid will give yellow or orange. These are the colors that you're required to know, because colors from 8, pH 8 and above, all of them are different shades of blue, so he's not going to ask you about the color for pH 8 or 9 or 10 and so on. But then in some cases we need the indicator in the form of a liquid, and we will be talking about titrations, for example. In titration, which we'll talk about just a minute, we need an indicator that's a liquid. So I can either use thymol, phthalene, or methyl orange. Please pay attention to spelling of all of these things. Remember that if I put thymol, phthalene in a base, it is blue. If it turns neutral, it becomes colorless, and if I put it in an acid, it is also colorless. While methyl orange, if I put it in a base, and you see the base, it's yellow. It will turn the solution to yellow. Now, when it becomes neutral, it will become orange. And if I put methyl orange in an acid, it is red or pink. So in this question, he says 4 different solutions are tested with universal indicator, and he gives me the colors that we get for each of the solutions, and he's saying which solutions are acidic. Okay, let's take a look. Well, W gave green. Do you remember what green gives? Green means it is pH 7. X is red. Red means it's what? It's acidic. So this solution is acidic. Y is purple. What does purple mean? It means it's a base. Z gave me orange. Where is orange? That's acid. So that means the ones that are acidic are X and Z. So my answer is B. Another question says 2 indicators, bromophenol blue and Congo red, show the following colors. Now these are indicators that we did not study. So he's given you the colors. He's saying what is the color of each indicator in acid and in base. Remember, alkali is the same as base. A few drops of each indicator are added to separate samples of a solution of pH 2. So I'm going to put a little bit of bromophenol blue, and then in another solution, I'm going to put a little bit of Congo red in separate samples in a solution that has pH 2. You should realize pH 2 means it is acid or alkali. pH 2, low pHs are acid. So that means that if I put bromophenol blue, he tells me in acid it should be yellow. Congo red in acid should be violet. So my answer is D. Reactions of acids and bases. The first reaction of an acid with a base, this is called neutralization reaction. This is acid plus base. It gives salt plus what? I want you to realize that reaction of acid with something will give a salt plus, if we're reacting with base, it will give salt plus water. So for example, if I'm putting hydrochloric acid, and you should know that hydrochloric acid has a pH of about 2, I'm going to react it with sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, about pH 12. Now what comes out is salt plus water. Both of these form a solution that has pH 7, so we call this reaction neutralization reaction. What if I'm reacting acid plus metal? You should realize it gives salt plus what? Salt plus hydrogen gas. So if I'm reacting zinc plus hydrochloric acid, for example, so this will give zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas. So remember, acid plus base will give salt plus water. Acid plus metal will give salt plus hydrogen. Acid plus carbonate will give salt plus carbon dioxide and water. So if I have something like hydrochloric acid with calcium carbonate, it gives me the salt. What is the salt? Calcium chloride plus carbon dioxide plus water. So these are the reactions of acids. Now, a base can react with ammonium salts. So ammonium something like ammonium sulfate. If I react it with a base, any base, for example, sodium hydroxide, this will give ammonia gas. Okay, we said that ammonia is a base. It's a weak base, but it's a base. And we said an acid would react with a base to give what? A normal base will give salt plus water. But ammonia is a base that doesn't have oxygen. It doesn't have hydroxide like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. Ammonia is a base. It doesn't have hydroxide, so it will give only a salt. So remember, ammonia plus hydrochloric acid, what does it give you? Ammonium chloride. Ammonia plus nitric acid would give ammonium nitrate. Ammonia plus sulfuric acid would give ammonium sulfate. Ammonia plus phosphoric acid would give ammonium phosphate. Notice the formulas and notice the balance. So this is a question that says some reactions of a substance R are shown in the diagram. So he's telling me that substance R reacts with magnesium, which is a metal, to give hydrogen gas. It reacts with carbonate to give carbon dioxide gas. It reacts with an oxide, which is a base, to give salt. What do you think substance R is? What did we say we react with? Metal or carbonate or base? It has to be an acid. Dilute hydrochloric acid is added to a solid S. A flammable gas G is formed, and gas G is less dense than air. What are S and G? If I'm reacting dilute hydrochloric acid with a solid that gives a flammable gas, first of all, what is the flammable gas? Well, the flammable gas has to be hydrogen. So my answer is A or C. So what reacts with acid to give hydrogen gas? We said a metal would react with with acid to give hydrogen gas. But I want you to remember that copper metal does not react with acids. Copper is less reactive than hydrogen. We will be talking about that again in a chapter on metals. But for now, remember that copper plus acid, no reaction. So my answer here must be the zinc with the acid gives a hydrogen gas plus salt. This kind of question has 5 marks, and he says describe the reactions of hydrochloric acid with calcium oxide, magnesium, and a named indicator. So, of course, hydrochloric acid, now when it reacts with calcium oxide, which is a base, this is neutralization reaction, and what happens is it forms calcium chloride and water. It forms the salt plus water. Now, when we react it with magnesium, magnesium is a metal, and we said acid plus metal will give the salt, so in this case, magnesium chloride, and we will see bubbles of hydrogen gas. An indicator like what? Okay, we chose here thymolphthalene, but you could choose any of the indicators. So if you say litmus with acid would turn red, thymolphthalene with acid would turn colorless. What if I'm saying methyl orange? Methyl orange with acid, we said it gives red, or we can refer to it as pink. Okay, this question says complete the word equation for the reaction of calcium carbonate with hydrochloric acid. Again, remember we said carbonate with acid will give a salt. So in this case, the salt is calcium chloride plus what? Carbonate plus acid would give carbon dioxide plus water. 3 chemicals, P, Q, and R, were each dissolved in water. The table shows some of the reactions of these solutions. The pH of the 3 solutions was also measured. What are the correct pH values of these solutions? Okay, let's take a look. P, when he added carbonate, it gave a gas. Remember that if something reacts with carbonate and a gas evolves, that means P must be an acid. An acid means its pH would be what? It has to be something less than 7. So my answer is actually A or B. Then Q gave a gas when it reacted with ammonium. We said what reacts with ammonium something to give a gas? We said a base would react with ammonium to give ammonia. So my base is something that has pH higher than 7, so the answer must be B. R does not react with carbonate, it does not react with ammonium. That means it is not an acid or a base, so it's probably something that is neutral with pH 7. Ammonia acts as a base. What is a base? Remember we said, what is a base? A base is proton acceptor. That is definition of it. And then he's saying write a balanced equation for reaction between ammonia and sulfuric acid. What is the reaction between ammonia and sulfuric acid? We said ammonia plus sulfuric acid would give ammonium sulfate. Remember the valency of sulfate is 2, so I have to put 2 under the ammonium, and that needs a balancing of 2 before the ammonia, before the acid. So just a chemical equation for the reaction between sodium hydroxide and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is acidic, so when it reacts with a base like sodium hydroxide, it will give the salt. In this case, the salt is sodium carbonate plus water. Salt plus water, and then you need the balance. Which reaction is a neutralization reaction? Remember we said, what do we mean by neutralization reaction? It's acid plus base. Which of these is acid plus base? So that is number D. Write a chemical equation for the reaction between magnesium carbonate and dilute nitric acid. You remember how to write equations? Magnesium carbonate plus nitric acid would give magnesium nitrate. Remember the valency of magnesium is 2, plus carbon dioxide plus water, and you need to remember to balance. Even if he does not say balance, you are supposed to balance, so you need a 2 in front of the nitric acid to balance the equation. An aqueous solution of organic compound methylamine has a pH greater than 7. What does that tell you? Is it acid or base? Greater than 7 is a base. So which of these is correct for a base? He's saying it neutralizes sodium hydroxide. That's not true. Base cannot react with base. Sodium hydroxide is a base, so it cannot react with base. It reacts with copper carbonate to give carbon dioxide. No, the one that reacts with carbonate to give carbon dioxide is acid, not base. Reacts with hydrochloric acid to form a salt. Yes, and a base would react with acid to form a salt. The last choice says turns blue to red, blue litmus to red. No, the base will turn the red to blue. Calcium chloride is a salt, so just the name of an acid and a base that would react together to make calcium chloride. So if I want to prepare calcium chloride, which acid and which base should I react together? I need an acid that has the chlorine, so hydrochloric acid, and I need a base that has calcium, so that is calcium hydroxide. The other question says calcium oxide plus nitric acid would give what? This is base plus acid to give the salt. In this case, it will be calcium nitrate plus water. Complete the word equation for the reaction of magnesium with hydrochloric acid. Magnesium is a metal plus acid will give me the salt plus hydrogen. Hydrochloric acid plus calcium hydroxide, this is acid plus base, will give salt plus water. Always remember all of this. Metal plus acid will give hydrogen gas. Metal acid plus base will give salt plus water. Some of the oxides are acidic and some of them are basic. So oxides of most non-metals are acidic. So carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur trioxide, silicon dioxide, all of these are acidic oxides. While oxides of metals like calcium oxide, copper oxide, magnesium oxide, and so on, these are basic oxides. Remember that for grade 10 or for the IGCSE extended syllabus, you will realize that there are some exceptions to these rules. But for now, let's say that oxides of non-metals are usually acidic, oxides of metals are usually basic. That means if I say that it is basic, that means it will dissolve in water to give a base. So magnesium oxide in water will give magnesium hydroxide. If I say that carbon dioxide is acidic, that means it dissolves in water to form an acid. So carbon dioxide dissolves in water to form carbonic acid. Sulfur dioxide is acidic. If I dissolve it in water, please notice sulfur dioxide in water will give an acid called sulfurous acid, H2SO3. While sulfur trioxide, SO3, if I dissolve it in water, it gives an acid called sulfuric acid, H2SO4. So this question says the oxide of element X forms a solution with pH 4. pH 4 is acid or base? pH 4 is acidic. So that means the oxide of X is acidic. That means X is a non-metal. Oxide of Y turns universal indicator to blue. That means oxide of Y is a base, and that means Y should be a metal. Are we following? Hydrochloric acid is used to clean a metal surface by removing the oxide layer on the metal. This is because hydrochloric acid has what kind of pH? We said hydrochloric acid, it's a strong acid. It must have a low pH. And the oxide, if it reacts with acid, the metal oxide must be a base. Remember that an acid will react with base. It cannot react with acid. So if it reacts with the metal oxide, then the metal oxide is a base. So my answer is D. Information about solubility in water of 4 oxides is shown. Which oxide, when added to water, will give a solution less than pH 7? Less than pH 7 means acid or base? Less than pH 7 is acidic. So he's asking which of these would give an acidic solution. Well, in order to form an acidic solution, it must be the oxide of a nonmetal. So which of these is oxide of a nonmetal? Nitrogen dioxide would be acidic. Okay, in our next video, we will talk about preparation of salts. Thank you for listening.